everyone. I'm Brenda Butner, and this is Bulls and Bears. Converting Iran's president and other radical Muslims to capitalism, is that the key to winning the war on terror? Let's find out in the trading pits. Iran's president due in New York this week, speaking at the UN on Tuesday. Is this the perfect opportunity to, get this, convert him to capitalism and talk him off the nuclear ledge? Bradshaw, what do you think of that idea?
Not him. He's a lunatic. I don't think you can deal with him. He's a smart guy, but he's crazy. He hates Israel. He hates the West.
Gary, I think that John may be being too rational. Don't they hate Americans more than they love iPods and Big Macs?
Yeah, absolutely, and I agree with John. I mean, I don't even know how you would convert him to capitalism. Wait, certainly I'm no expert, but these guys are bullies, and the best way to deal with a bully, as John probably knows, is to punch the bully in the nose before he punches you. I mean, there's no
sure if I'm the bully or dealing with the bully.
Converting them to capitalism...
We could find out after the show.
Yeah, exactly.
But what about the nuclear threat? Isn't he going to be working against the world with if he continues with the nuclear threat?
Yeah, Brenda, and I think that even if right now Iran's president is making some moves toward negotiation over enriching uranium, I think it's all a ruse, because they will never stop trying to build a nuclear weapon, just as they will never stop hating Israel. So if they do embrace some Western ways, capitalism, it will just be a maneuver to get money to continue their efforts against the U.S.
They're good at making money. There's no doubt about that, or at least bringing in revenue.
Accidentally.
But I think what would trump that, though, is their hatred of democracies like us. I mean, look, they're just flat-out hatred of the U.S. They're flat-out hatred of Israel. I think that would trump any revenue or capitalist, activities that they might be encouraged to do.
Okay, go ahead.
I want to come back to a point that I made. We keep talking about they, and that's like saying that Americans think the same exact way about every topic you want to throw out. And in this case, the they doesn't work that way. There are all sorts of people in Iran who watch satellite television who are huge fans of America. They understand the concepts of democracy.
Yeah, so Adam, when does
let me finish, Gary. Gary, my favorite part was when...
You know what, Brenda?
My favorite part was when Gary said he wasn't an expert on it.
I don't care about they. I care about the Americans. I care about people in the United States. And if we can manipulate them, we've got to stop them. We can do it one way. We can put sanctions on them, or we can go in there and blow them off the map. We don't want to do either one of those, because those have proven ineffective against the dictator. We introduce capitalism to those people, there's a chance their people, and that is our only real chance, their people will take the steps to further go with capitalism, which means they will become somewhat of allies of us, or less enemies.
Yeah, but they have a nationalistic fervor now. They're on the center stage, and they want to make their mark. And they're going to do that. There's nothing stopping them. We've got to strangle them with financial incentives, disincentives, as it were, and shut them off from the rest of the world.
It didn't work in North Korea.
It didn't
work in Cuba in 40
But they're still
years.
Isolated. Cuba's still isolated. They're both
something different.
But they're still
40 years.
isolated. But they can't do us damage. They can't do us damage.
They don't have oil.
Cuba can't do us damage.
They don't have oil.
They don't have oil.
Well, gas prices are falling, but would they drop even more if oil companies receive bigger tax breaks? How's that to get you started? Good morning, everyone. I'm Neil Cavuto. Let's get the bottom line, shall we, from Ben?
Of course, if we want more oil, we've got to give people incentives to go and find more oil.
We've got to stop beating up on the oil companies, definitely give them more incentives to drill, definitely keep the environmentalists under control. It is insane that the environmentalists would rather have us depend on hook, line, and sinker on Saudi Arabia and on Venezuela, countries that don't like us very much, than let us drill off the coast of Florida or the coast of California. Energy security is far more important than saving the lives of some seagulls, much as I love animals.
They have enough incentives. Their incentives is to make profits. They don't need more incentives to drill. They don't need more incentives to explore. The high prices of oil have allowed them to make these new discoveries by having the capital to make exploration. So I don't think we need to drive this country further into debt. And I'm surprised Ben feels that way, knowing the fiscal nature that we have existing today in the economy, why we're going to drive ourselves further into debt just to give the oil companies more tax breaks.
No,
they have enough incentives
Ben
already.
said because he hates seagulls. Lee, what do you think?
I agree exactly with Greg. I mean, they've had breaks for the past 2 years. It's called really high oil prices.
I'm totally with the two of you again. I have a very, very hard time feeling sorry for these fat cats owning these big oil refineries. Forget about it. I just don't have any pity for them, especially when I'm filling up my gas tank. Forget.
By the way, Greg, I'm about to send you my Republican committee card because you're sounding very Republican today.
All right, guys, I wish we had more time. My apologies to sea turtles and seagulls. We'll be thinking of you in the next show.
And Mike Ozania, the GOP is the enemy, Mike?
David, the 4 senators that voted against the way Bush wants to treat detainees are essentially modern-day Benedict Arnolds. In fact, they make Benedict Arnold look like a patriot. They're far too lenient on these terrorists, and basically they want us to give away our intelligence when we capture these guys. It's crazy.
Elizabeth, by the way, that includes the chairman of the committee, John Warner.
I don't know about giving away the intelligence. I think Mike is a little over the top this morning. But look, this is about the battle for the hearts and minds. When we do things like this, we lose our soul. What the Senate did, we will restore our honor and integrity. We won the Cold War because the world saw that the Soviet Union was using secret prisons and torture tactics, and that behavior was abhorrent. The West won it on ideology, and that is democracy, freedom, and human rights.
So we got to hit the hearts and minds and soul of the world community,
when
Jim.
You're talking hearts and minds, you're talking public relations. And what Warner and Senator McCain have done have put public relations ahead of national safety. Geneva Convention was never intended to cover people who are terrorists, ununiformed terrorists, who assassinate people. It was only meant for people who agreed to abide by it themselves, and these bastards have killed, murdered, and tortured American soldiers they captured. They have total contempt for it, and we're supposed to obey it.
Quentin, go ahead.
Well, I think Mike, with his Spanish Inquisition attitude, might have a point, actually.
Hello everyone, I'm Terry Keenan and welcome to Cashin' In. America's biggest enemies enjoying a weekend getaway just 90 miles off of our shores and accusing the U.S. of being a terrorist state. The Cuban conference coming just days before Iran's president will arrive in New York for a speech at the United Nations. Should Wall Street be worried the groundwork is being laid for World War III? Well, let's get the stock smarts. They get nukes and they're aligned with Cuba. It's the Cuban Missile Crisis all over again times 20.
I would agree, and you got to take them out when that happens.
Wayne has a point, but this week the New York Times and all the newspapers are going to cover Ahmadinejad's visit to the U.S. as if it was some royal second coming.
Yeah, well, of course, because they're trying desperately to push a certain agenda and also desperately to sell newspapers, which they don't do a lot these days. But, back to this conference. This thing was conceived in 1955. It's been around since 1961, and since the 70s, it's been anti-American. Most Americans don't care. We really shouldn't care. The bottom line is the war in Iraq is the war on terror right now, Wayne, and that's the bottom line, and we got to win it.
The anti-Americans get together and shout about how bad America is.
5 years ago, my friend. You think the war on terror was not in New York City? You're crazy.
A bunch of anti-Americans get together, make a big scream and shout, and the Dow is very close to an all-time high.
And
if the Iranians get a nuke, the Dow will go close to an all-time low. That's the problem.
Stuart, to your point, absolutely right, because the topics at that gathering down in Cuba are illiteracy and the lack of health care.
Jonathan?
And meanwhile, they're all talking such smack about us, 90 miles off the shore of
Jonathan, talk is cheap. Does anybody in this entire group think if any one of these non-aligned countries gets weapons, they're going to launch an attack on America as a nation? Does anybody think that's possible?
Absolutely. Iran, North Korea,
they're going to launch missiles at a nation with 1 or 2 bombs is going to launch an attack with their navy.
Let me tell you something. In a situation where somebody can lose 10 men versus 1 man and claim victory, it doesn't matter.
I'm not talking about terrorists. I'm talking about a nation attacking us with bombs.
They ship a nuke to one of our ports and blackmail us. That's what they'll do.